So we're going to get to the first one. The first question we got in on the chat board, Cole Miller is asking, John, last year I read that Daniel Craig's contract was only for 2 more Bond films. What do you think may be the next, you probably meant who do you think will be the next 007? We speculated about that a number of times, about who could be the next 007, and the reality is we're still 5 years away. I mean, he's got 2 more films. We already know who's doing the next one, and then he's got 1 more to go after that. So we are really far way away from that. I think it's way too early to even begin to speculate about who could be the next Bond. We don't know who's going to be hot next year, let alone who's going to be hot 5 years from now. So I think it's a little bit early. Do you guys have any early picks?
Oh, I have an idea.
Okay.
5 years down the road.
All right.
Stay with me, guys. Green Arrow. Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell, I think, could be a good Bond in a couple of years. Let him age a little bit. Yeah, mature as an actor. His physicality is there. He's great in action. He can do a role like that. I think put him in a tux, give him a martini, James Bond.
Dennis?
I'm still going to go with Idris Elba. I think he should do it. But who knows, Daniel Craig may re-up again if he wants.
If he wants. I mean, like, look how old Sean Connery played Bond till, Roger Moore. I mean, it is possible. Ricky Gonzalez writes, can Batman vs. Superman not follow the comics and have Superman win the fight against Batman? Batman is my favorite of all time, but the way the universe is set up, it will be hard to have Batman win this fight. Go Batman. Yeah, we've kind of talked about this before, too. Look, in the comic book world, number one, the god of all superheroes is Superman. There's no doubting that. But unless he's fighting anybody short of Jesus, Batman wins. Batman always wins. He fights Darkseid, he wins. He fights Superman, he wins. Somehow, some way, in this weird comic book universe, Batman always wins. And so, in the movie universe, that does feel a little bit more grounded in reality. They're going to have to come up with some. I mean, Dennis and I have talked about this a lot. They got to come up with some kind of device to make it believable that Batman can have a fight with Superman. Now, whether it's kryptonite-laced armor or whether it's some other weird thing that Batman has to figure out to do, but I don't see anybody definitively winning. It's probably going to be more like a draw. That's the way they're going to go with this for sure. But they got to come up with a device because obviously you can't just have Superman, Batman, throw them in the octagon and expect the fight to last more than half a second. I mean, obviously they're going to have to come up with something. Michael Dalt writes, question: do you think a Marvel Civil War with the current Marvel cinematic characters would make a good movie? No, because the current Marvel characters are already the Avengers. There is nobody else other than the Avengers for the current Marvel characters. My belief is firmly you can't do a Civil War movie without, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Civil War is a Marvel story arc where the government's basically passed this law that all superheroes have to reveal their identities. And so superheroes then become split. Some who believe they should follow and obey the government rule, and superheroes, and I believe they're led by Tony Stark. And then you had the other superheroes who want to fight against that, led by Captain America. And so you got all the Marvel superheroes in this Civil War against each other. And I firmly believe you cannot, I've said this before, I'll say it again, you can't do a Civil War movie without the X-Men in there. You can't do a Civil War movie without the Fantastic Four. You can't do a Civil War movie without Spider-Man. And all of those characters belong to other studios, so I can't see a way in which it happens. Dennis, can you?
No, not at all. I mean, those are, pivotal characters in that storyline, so I don't see, and it's not like these studios are going to lend these characters to Marvel. Oh, yeah, people really want to see Civil War, so we'll just lend you these characters out of goodwill.
Aaron?
I want to see Civil War, but I want to see it as a last-ditch effort. Like, okay, we've exhausted all of our options, guys. What are we going to make? We have to make one more movie. Civil War. But same thing, I don't know how they're going to deal with the rights of all the characters, but personally it is something I would want to see.
Sure, I mean, I think all of us would love to see it. Okay, so Alex Clinton writes in, I heard that Sean Connery was almost cast as Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. How do you think this could have turned out in hindsight? Well, it's not that he was almost cast in Lord of the Rings, he was offered Lord of the Rings. He was offered to play Gandalf, and he didn't quite get it. He thought it was silly. He didn't think it would work, and I think by that time, Sean Connery, something really bad happened to Sean Connery. And that really bad thing was called The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which Connery put a lot of his heart and soul into, had a terrible time making it, hated the director. The movie got panned. I actually worked on that movie. And it was just awful, and it was turned out terrible, and it was a devastating thing to him. And after that, I think that was the last time we've ever seen him on the screen. And he de facto retired after that, although he didn't officially retire. Anyway, he was offered that. He would have been a great Gandalf. It's hard now to sit back and picture Gandalf as anything but Magneto. I mean, Ian McKellen is Gandalf, but honestly, had fate been a little bit different, I think Sean Connery would have done magnificent as Gandalf. I don't know if as good or a little bit better or maybe not quite as good as Ian McKellen did, but Sean Connery would have been a great Gandalf. I have no doubt about it. Would have been classic. Do you think it would have turned out any differently, you guys?
I think he would have been fine, but the interesting thing about that offer is that he was offered points on it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like, oh, you missed out on a great role. He missed out on a lot of money. He left a lot of money on the table.
Awful lot of money. Aaron?
I don't know. I feel like there's two sides of Gandalf, and I feel like Sean Connery, I don't know if he fulfills both of those sides to me, personally. It's hard for me to imagine anyone else in that role other than the amazing Ian McKellen.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, let's see here. Matt Terrell writes, which film do you think will end up as the highest grossing film of 2013? Will it stay as Iron Man 3 or change? Possibly The Hobbit 2? No, I think we've pretty much established The Hobbit 2 is not going to break the mark that Iron Man 3 set for the year. Iron Man 3 is absolutely going to finish as the #1 box office film of the year. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, my chat board is like rolling like crazy. Okay, this one here is, the Videron is asking, hey guys, what villain do you think they should use for the Justice League movie? Well, I mean, it could very well just be Batman versus Superman. They could be each other's foils and introduce us to Lex Luthor. I don't think, once again, this is just speculating, I don't think we're going to see a Darkseid show up. I don't think we're going to see Doomsday show up. I don't think we're going to see Brainiac show up. I don't think the Joker's going to show up. I don't know that we're going to have a real strong villain in the film, other than maybe just somebody to be introduced like a Lex Luthor. Because, like I said, I want the focus of this movie to be on Batman versus Superman. That's what I want it to be. But, Aaron, how could you see it play out? Could you see another villain kind of fit in this?
I have so many hesitations with this movie and where this is all going. It's so hard for me to answer that question because I have villains that I like and villains I would love to see, Lex Luthor being one of them, but I'm also a big fan of Brainiac, who I would love to see at some point. I'm just not sure where, especially considering how we're introducing these characters and they're going to be in this movie and then possibly in Justice League. I'm just not exactly sure what the overarching plan is that they're trying to establish here, but those are villains that I would love to see eventually. I'm just not sure in what capacity.
I don't think they need to have like a major villain, but introducing Lex Luthor would be nice, and maybe doing hints of either like a Doomsday or a Darkseid, you know, just hinting at, oh, this is what's upcoming for Justice League would be nice.
All right, we're just going to take a couple more here really quick because we're just about out of time. Siding Ton writes, any news on Jackman and X-Men 2016? We touched on this last week, I think. Hugh Jackman has said he's only committed. Well, actually, he's not committed for anything. He has finished shooting X-Men: Days of Future Past. He is interested in doing the next Wolverine film because they are making another Wolverine film with or without Jackman. They want Jackman, but Jackman said he's got to wait to see the script, and he said the script's got to be really good for me to do it. So until he makes a decision on that, we won't know. If he doesn't come back for the next Wolverine film, he is obviously not coming back for X-Men Apocalypse in 2016. So we're just waiting for Jackman to read the script and then make a decision. And the last question today comes to us from Ned Stark, who writes, my favorite question in the world. Hey, John, I have your absolute favorite question. Was Joseph Gordon-Levitt Robin? Just had to stick it to me. For those of you who haven't watched the show for a long time, no, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was not Robin in The Dark Knight Rises.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.